Blame It on Vanity, Chapter 28, Bloody Black Water. With each new methodical, despicable movement of my being, I clothed my fists tight to a wretched lie which sought to eradicate my life at an impromptu time, and I had built no stomach for the fight. With each new bitterness despaired formulated by this cruel, cold world of which I had become its strange kind, I closed my eyes with deep complaint and muttered words of death and despair while the hot flames seeped, boiled, and burned ablaze under my bottle. I was molding to the likes of mediocrity, vulnerability, having had the experience of a trained seal, being pushed to the brink of hopelessness and helplessness to perpetuate a flawless, ruinous end. The devil's perversities grew wearily within me, seeping and sneaking themselves through, preferably choosing their way into my joints, searing my lungs, stretching my flesh, and waiting patiently for the reading of my obituary. He searched endlessly for my miserable conclusion, and now where would I flee? Where could I run from this wretched place when this wretched place was deep in the pit of me? It is 40, all flesh is as grass, it withers and fades, people stomp on grass. That was Blame It on Vanity, Chapter 28. Blame It on Vanity, Chapter 29. I was afraid of change and yet deathly afraid of not changing at all. Little did I know that this day would be filled with strange twists and turns, leading my heart to an about face. I would place my life in someone else's hands, believing it to be increasingly wasting away in mine. I was shooting one of my last films, and so it started out a perfectly sunny day, as were most days in LA. I can't tell you which film we were shooting, for I carefully don't recall. One thing stands for sure, that was the day I met a man so powerful that in the twinkling of an eye he would alter my entire existence. So qualified is he to tell me every truth about myself, answering all my insufferable questions in between. His name is still Jesus, the Prince of Peace. I do recall much prayer, however narrow-minded, gullible, and thoughtless it was. I believe God was listening to me. I said, if you give me that man over there, for he was finding my sly eye, then I will give up partying, as if God was prone to making deals. Nonetheless, I am quite certain he knew I was a live wire. He was well aware I lacked the power to tear my body from its course of recklessness. But nevertheless, God allowed that man to come to me straight away. Hello, Sam, I said, and then he invited me to lunch. We rode in his car, and naturally, I scoped my surroundings much like an FBI agent. That's a wrap. There, sitting grandiose in between the gentleman and I, was a big black leather book with its cover barely hanging on for dear life. Tell me, do you take that book everywhere you go? I really wanted to say that it was sitting in my seat. It was the Holy Bible. Matthew 24, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall never pass away. Have you ever been saved? He said easily, as if it was a common topic over tea and crumpets. I, without gushing out, from what? Anyway, thus began my first prayer meeting the following evening. I met all of Sam's friends at his apartment along with a girl named Terry Copley. How awesome the Lord was to send just the right people to help me out of my sin. Terry was a former actress and so sympathetic when dealing with my weakness. I found myself being unafraid and completely transparent with total strangers. I cried a river of tears and prayed fervently over my miserable existence. It was then that I heard my mouth speak in unknown tongues. They call it supernatural experience according to the scriptures spoken in the book of Acts chapter 2. The apostles preached an infilling, not a feeling, of Acts chapter 2. 10:46, they heard them speak with tongues and magnifying God. Any gift that God gives, there is always evidence of manifestations. Look at that. Life had been living just outside my door. I was ready to take it all in, having missed so many years of joy. That was chapter 29. Okay, so we got a few more chapters to go.